This
require
conference will
employer
now be
employee
recorded.
contributions at the rates as mandated by the state. And we've been talking about this for years now. These rates have been increasing. We were looking at an SCRS rate of 16.5% and a PORS rate of 19.2% for fiscal 22. Those rates have increased for fiscal 23 to 17.5% and 20.2%. And they are scheduled to increase again for fiscal 24 when we'll be having rates of 18.5% and 21.2%. And so those increasing rates do have a direct impact on your operating budget. And so it is very important that as you're getting into the budget process, thinking about the next several years, that you're considering these rate increases because they will have an effect on the town. In any fiscal year where your federal expenditures exceed $750,000, you are required to have what's called a single audit. That's an additional compliance audit required by the federal government. And so we did perform a single audit this year and audited the FEMA program, which of course is providing peer reconstruction funding. I'm pleased to say we have no findings to report related to that single audit, so great job there. We also perform our audit in accordance with government auditing standards. And so in addition to the opinion that's required related to the single audit, there's a second opinion related to the government auditing standards. And if we had identified any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses in your internal controls, so for example, if we were having to make significant audit adjustments during our audit process, then we would be required to report findings as part of that report. But I'm pleased to say nothing to report of that nature this year. We also issue a management letter each year. That's primarily required communications from us to management and to council. That's another area where from time to time we may have recommendations that we believe are significant enough to be put in writing, but that don't rise to the level of being a finding for your report. But again, no significant recommendations to include in that letter this year. So we really appreciate working with the town. I know Diana's not here this evening, but she and her team are always a pleasure to work with. And, you know, we're here a little bit earlier presenting this year than we normally are. And that really speaks to all the hard work that they put in to have things ready for us. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you'll have at this time.
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead.
I just have one question. You had said that our municipal bond, our $4 million bond for the Pier project was primarily unspent as of the end of June, correct?
That's right.
Right, because that doesn't seem consistent to what Diana reported not too long ago, saying it's gone and there's only about $500,000 left of it.
As of right now, I believe that's accurate. I saw the last report I saw was as of maybe the end of September, and it had been fully expended at that time. The federal grant money was fully exhausted as of June 30th. Right. And some of the bond money had been spent, but most of it was spent after year end.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions? Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the next thing on the agenda is the police quarterly report by Chief Hoffman. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, citizens. I know we got a lot on the agenda tonight. I will try to move through these reports quickly. I'm here to present the police department's quarterly report. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. So starting the quarterly report will cover July, August, and September. In the month of July, the police department had a 54.81% increase in calls for service from July of last year, and arrest and citation data between July of last year and this year had a 37.24% increase. PFC Pinto, or Corporal Pinto, and K9 SIF had a busy month, 22 hours of training. They also had 3 deployments that consisted of 3 positive alerts, resulting in 3 arrests. They seized heroin, methamphetamine, crack cocaine, marijuana, drug paraphernalia, and Schedule 4 controlled substances. Arrest charges included the possession of heroin, third offense, possession with intent to distribute methamphetamine, third offense, and possession of drug paraphernalia. Overall summary, in the month of July, we had 4,022 calls for service that resulted in 45 custodial arrests, 456 citations, 26 criminal arrest warrants. 8 of those were for drugs. And we transported 23 prisoners to J. Reuben Long and 22 prisoners to the Myrtle Beach Police Department. Enforcement efforts resulted in 265 written warnings in lieu of traffic citations. In the month of July, we participated in the July 4th golf cart parade. We led the parade with the town's accommodations tax-funded low-speed vehicle. I think Councilwoman Keating might have been a passenger on that day. So unfortunately, we didn't get to participate in the rest of the events because they got rained out. But there's always July 4th of next year. In the month of August, our stats indicated that we had a 54.19% increase for August from August of last year. And arrest and citation data was up as well, 126.6% increase in arrest and citation data for August. Corporal Pinto and K-9 SIF had 23 hours of training. They had 3 deployments, resulting in 1 arrest with seizures of heroin, marijuana, and drug paraphernalia. The team also completed their annual South Carolina Police K-9 Association certification to recertify. Also in the month of August, our total summary is 3,238 calls for service. We had 60 custodial arrests, 365 citations, 54 criminal arrest warrants were issued with 6 warrants related to drugs. We took 31 prisoners to J. Reuben and 24 to the Myrtle Beach Police Department and issued 245 written warnings in lieu of traffic citations. For the month of September, we had a 41.97% increase in calls for service, and our arrest and citation data had a 83.82% increase. K-9 SIF and Corporal Pinto had 20 hours of training, 2 deployments, 1 positive alert, resulting in 3 arrests. They seized, they did 2 article searches related to searching for some backpacks. From some vehicle break-ins that you may be aware of that we had in this month. They recovered 2 backpacks containing 5 stolen firearms and other miscellaneous personal items and drugs as well. That was a big deal for Corporal Pinto and K-9 SIF. They found those backpacks days after they were abandoned. So we're really proud of the work that they did. That results from that is a result of the constant training they do. To not only be able to track a person immediately afterwards, but to track that person days afterwards and be able to go find those backpacks. Those backpacks had loaded firearms that had been abandoned in our community. So we're very proud of the work that Corporal Pinto and K-9 SIF did in that particular case. So ran through that pretty quick. Does anybody have any questions for me on the quarterly report? We were busy.
Do you have any thoughts on why the load went up 40-50% from one year over?
You know, that's a great question, Councilman. I was actually, I snuck in here with my other quarterly report, and I was glancing at it this evening before we came in, and I just kind of wanted to see what the trend has looked like. So starting from back in April, just this percentage increase from the year before was 12.1, 92.53, 57.22, and then the ones I gave you tonight of 54, 54, and 41%. So it's trending definitely. That we're about 50% up on average from the calls for service from last year. Some areas that we have seen larger increases in calls for service are alcohol violations, disorderly conducts, resisting arrest. Some of those types of areas we've seen some jumps. We've had some definitely some increases in property crimes and larcenies. Fortunately, we haven't seen a big jump in violent crime, which is a blessing. So I don't have it, I can't exactly put my thumb on it. I would say that all of our area agencies are likely experiencing some increases as well. But we're staying out there and we're holding the line, as you can see from our enforcement, our arrest and citation data. As we are seeing violations occur or crimes occur, we're responding as quickly as we can to bring justice to that.
One other question. Can you tell if it's locals or out of town creating the problem?
I don't have an exact stat on that, so
Okay.
I'd hate to report on that. Tourism was strong this year for sure. So I would probably lean. It's probably a combination of both. I hate to throw out a stat
Okay.
on that without having any back.
Well, y'all continue to do a great job.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
Kenny, with all this increase in arrests and trafficking and all this, are we having enough officers to take care of this problem? Or are we putting our officers on overtime a lot to take care of this? Or how is the problem in the office with all the officers you have? Is it needing more to handle this increase?
Yeah, I need about 20 more officers.
I know you do. But that ain't, we always want more than we can get.
I'll tell you, I'm happy to report to you that at this moment, the police department is fully staffed. I'll thank council for helping. The resources that you provide us are critical in helping to be able to recruit good police officers and keep them on staff as well. I'm very appreciative of the increases that you approved. For us, it's helped me tremendously in recruiting currently certified officers. So thank you. We are fully staffed right now. I really strongly believe that we're going to need a couple more officers in the next budget. So I will be coming to you with that, particularly with the impending opening of your pier and the increase we're going to see down there. We're going to really need to police that appropriately, and not just enforcement, but community policing and a strong presence right out of the gate, so we can make sure we keep that pier family beach and family pier. We're doing okay. To answer your question directly, we are working officers a lot of overtime. We've had a really busy summer, and of course, we're doing more events than we've done in the past, which is great. But a lot of times, events require extra policing, so we're having to have officers come in and work those overtime responsibilities. But man, we have such a great staff. The officers are always willing to help and come in and pick up a shift or whatever that they need to do to help support the town's initiatives. But I do think that there's a point coming where we've done some evaluation in the past of the number of calls for service that your officers answer per year compared to other agencies. And I can tell you that we're asking a lot of the officers that are here.
That sort of seems the problem to me is if this is increasing by 54% overall, if you've got a staff that needs to take care of more people, there are more here. So to me, looks to me like you need more staffing by the numbers.
Well, thank you. We have, I hope that everyone in the room and the community knows and council knows that, while police chiefs and fire chiefs are always asking for money, I know. But if everybody's been keeping up with the history of staffing within the police department, our staff has been decreasing over the years. We've given up a sergeant position in the past. We've got a frozen position right now. Budget before last, I gave up 2 full-time positions that were transport related to seeing how we did with Myrtle Beach. So I hope everybody knows I'm very conservative with that. And so when I did need positions, I let them go. And when I need positions, I hope that you all trust me when I really tell you that we're going to need some positions coming up. And I'll provide data to support that. But thank you for recognizing it.
Thanks, Kenny.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
Kenny, I appreciate two guys being at the fire department expo on Saturday. But I enjoyed seeing the brand new car
Yes, sir.
that was there, but Officer Gambone made an instant, he was talking about his car. It's a 2018, but he's talking about it's running better than ever, and because of the way it's being staffed. And I just want to get that across.
Good job. See you later. Thank you, and thank you, Sergeant Gambone. That's the beauty of the assigned vehicle program is, the officers take ownership in a sense of the vehicle. A lot of times you'll hear them say, my car. And we're like, that's the taxpayer's car. But they take good care of it. They treat it like their own. And that's what makes those cars last longer. They use less fuel. They're not burning through the brakes. There's less maintenance. It's a win for the taxpayers to keep those vehicles in service because they're cared for. Thank you. Any other questions?
Anybody else? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Now up is the Surfside Beach Fire Department.
I don't know how I follow that with a staffing discussion, but I'm gonna give my best.
Mr. Mayor, can I tell him not to?
Hey, Ron, was it true that one of the police officers on Saturday was actually wearing a fireman's hat?
I believe so, sir. I might have a picture of that in my presentation.
A little public safety, huh?
Record it in. Thank you, Sherry. Well, Mayor and Council and Mr. Shanahan, the community, thank you for the opportunity to give the fire department's first quarter report for FY 22-23. But before I start the quarterly report, I'd like to ask Deputy Chief Carter and Fire Marshal Williams to come up front with me. I'd like to make the community and all of you aware of an award that the fire department has received. And we were designated as a fire safe South Carolina community. And this is what was presented to us. I believe that this is the first time the fire department's ever received this award. And the reason why I wanted Keith and Larry to come up here, because this is not the Rob Clemens Award. This is the Fire Department Award. This is an award that took a lot of work. It took a lot of effort through the fire marshal, through the community risk reduction program that quite frankly, we're just getting started, to tell you the truth. And with Deputy Chief Carter's management of operations and all of the key components, there's a laundry list of things that we have to do to receive this award. And just very quickly, the mission of Fire Safe South Carolina Community Award is to unite fire service organizations and engage influential community stakeholders together with the support of local fire departments to serve their citizens through a strategic community risk reduction program. And we do this through multiple partnerships, so it's just not fire departments. This is done through the American Red Cross, South Carolina DHEC, South Carolina Department of Veterans Affairs, the Firefighters Association, the Association of Fire Chiefs, multiple organizations. So it's just not the Surfside Beach Fire Department and fire departments. And this is an effort to prevent unnecessarily loss of life and property from fire and life safety risk. We have realized that the more people you gather for this initiative, the better we're going to be and the more lives we're going to save. Some of the core 4 safety message focuses are right alarm, right location, fire sprinkler, save lives, fire drill plans and prep, and see a problem and take action. So I'm very proud of this. We've already started a lot of work to make sure that we receive this. The Surfside Beach receives this every single year. And Keith, I think we're well on our way to making sure that that we receive that. It is one of the initiatives that the organization is going to do. So I wanted to share that with you, and it fits right in with Fire Prevention Month that the mayor is going to read a proclamation here soon. So thank you, fellas.
Keith,
Congratulations.
Thank you.
could you not show that to the audience? They didn't, you're showing it to us.
You know what, Mr. Yes.
There you go.
So now as I move into the quarterly report, we're going to start with the operations activity report. The Surfside Beach Fire Department through July the 1st through September the 30th ran 356 incidents. That was an increase of 10% from the previous quarter, and a year-to-date total of 986 incidents, and that was a 5% actual decrease. It ebbs and flows with the fire department, but we're right on track to meet our numbers where we did last year. When we look at the operations activities and the incident types that we track, there's 4 incident types that we primarily track. That's working fires, hazardous conditions, no fire, rescue emergency services, and service good intent. So if you look at the chart on the screen, you can see that the breakdown is 45% is service and good intent calls, 47% is rescues and EMS, and then we have 4% for our fires and hazard condition no fires. When you look at the year-to-date totals for those same activities, you'll see it's 52% with service and good intent. It's 40% with rescues and EMS, and we're staying at 4% for the working fires and the hazardous conditions and no fires. So to just give you a little bit of breakdown of what those numbers look like for the quarter and for the year. We have made a concerted effort, and especially through Keith's efforts in having a full-time fire marshal, to make sure that we have a robust fire prevention program. And these are some of the activities since Fire Marshal Williams started. In this quarter, we completed 43 inspections for total deficiencies of 321. Re-inspections were 118. We had new business inspections of 16, false alarms were 22, fire investigations were 2, and plans review were 10. In public education, my number didn't show up. I got to fix that data point, is 8. And when you look at that, you're like 321 deficiencies. Here's what that says to me. This community is becoming safer because the fire marshal is working with the business community and making sure that we are taking care of those deficiencies. When you look at the year to date, we did 165 completed inspections with 1,420 deficiencies. Re-inspections were 336. The new inspections were 52. False alarms were 22. Fire investigations were 4. The plans review was 13, and we had public education events were 12. So that's extremely important to us also. Our re-inspection fees for the quarter was $675 is what we took in, and then we also took in $1,200 for our false alarm fees. As we move into some of the narrative for the quarterly report, I have put on the table the latest version of our tracking sheet. This is the most up-to-date version of our project tracking sheet for our organization. I won't read all of these to you. I'll hit a couple highlights. The mobile data computers was a highlight for the Surfside Beach Fire Department. That was a project that started before I got here. We were able to finish that. So all the units have mobile data computers where we receive up-to-date call information as the folks are responding to emergency incidents. We now have reporting software, so we're using technology, and it's a one-stop shop. So the fire marshal's office, the staffing scheduling tool, which is brand new, and then our EMS reporting, which we just ordered, is all linked to one software program, which makes things so much better from an analytic perspective to be able to report to the community and to report to all of you. You all know that we've done some rebranding with our patch and our uniform, our mission and our vision, our mission and pillars, and our motto. The Fire Chief's command vehicle is now operational, and we've also adopted the Horry County operational guidelines, which makes sense to us as Chief Carter and I talked about how should we be running these incidents and handling these incidents from a tactical perspective, and it makes sense to follow Horry County's guidelines. Our staffing, we currently do have 2 career captain vacancies. We do have an assessment center that actually starts tomorrow. So it is October 12th and 13th to fill those 2 positions. And we had a total of 11 applications, and 7 will be participating, some from South Carolina and some from out of state. Our part-time positions continue to be a resource for our staffing. We have already hired 3 people. We have 3 that are in various stages of the hiring process, and we hope to continue to build that pool of people to help us staff the unit. Our engineer firefighter 2 position remains open in anticipation of the SAFER grant, and I'll touch on the SAFER grant as we go through this. And we currently have 20 applications for that position, which for a department of this size, kind of a niche department, that's fantastic. People want to come and work here. So that's great. That'll give us a good pool of folks. And our volunteer members remain high-level contributors to our organization with 8 operational members with varying degrees of capabilities, 3 support members, and 4 applicants that are being processed. Council and town support measures, the SAFER grant. We have not heard anything from the SAFER grant. I have reached out to my contacts that I know. I've been on the FEMA Go site. They have awarded the federal government some SAFER grants. I will tell all of you, I do not know where we're at. I'm trying to find out, but because we haven't heard anything, I'm getting a little bit nervous. I do know when I talked to my contractor I think it was last week, that SAFER, or the federal government's putting $10 million additional dollars into SAFER grant awards through the American Rescue Funds. So my fingers are crossed that we are still in the running for a SAFER grant. Our ALS initiative that was funded in this budget cycle is delayed due to a new South Carolina regulation of how ALS licensing is issued. When we first started this initiative and council funded that initiative for us, and we've gotten everything ready to do this initiative, we found out that in July the law was changed. So in other words, what happened in a nutshell is we're a BLS agency, basic life support, but we could provide ALS paramedic skills from the rescue engine. But now we have to be an actually ALS licensed agency. So we're actually having some conversation that requires a percentage of your people to be advanced life support certified. So we're working toward that. But that is not a dead initiative because I really want that for this community. And we are still in the process of developing the employee pay step program and include the evaluation and performance goal tools at the direction of Mr. Shanahan and council. Quite frankly, all the department heads are working on that, fire department included. Our ANOVA cost recovery program, I know Mr. Drake has asked me a few questions on this. This is something I'm starting to monitor closely now that we've been doing it for 9 or 10 months. Looking at this quarter, we have 5 claims submitted, 3 open claims with potential earnings of almost $2,000. 2 claims were denied by insurance companies, and they will still try and recover some of those funds. And working with the NovaPad to clarify some of the data sets and how we receive that and what that looks like. The other thing that we're doing is myself and Deputy Chief Carter, we have done some training with our folks. We talked about this just the other day. I think that there's some more training and recognition that we need to do internally as an organization to help build those numbers up. Some second quarter goals and some of the success monitoring that we're going to use as that gets related into the tracking document. There's really 5 items up here. It's develop a schedule for fire safety meetings. This is something that Fire Marshal Williams has already started, and that's continuing those presentations related to fire safety. Our ISO review, we have a meeting scheduled tentatively for next week with Seth Vaughn, who is our representative. I've already talked with him a couple times. He has reviewed our ISO regression. So when we sit down, we'll have a better understanding of does he think we can get to a 1. So we're going to have more information about that as we move through the next couple months. And we have until March before we have to, it is March, right, Larry? Before March, before we have to decide what we're going to do. Our fire service agreement with Horry County and Murrells Inlet and Garden City, that is something that we continue to work on. I've had multiple conversations with both of those fire chiefs to make sure that that we are doing the things the way we need to do them from an automatic aid and a mutual aid perspective, and we're very close to getting that done. And I expect to sit down with Mr. Shanahan before the end of November to be able to present something to him and to council. Our firefighter physical and radio agreement with Horry County, I think that we would be foolish not to leverage some of the resources that Horry County has from a fire department perspective because we can get better pricing and all of those things in a maintenance program. So we're looking at them helping us maintain our portable radios. It's not just portable radios, really, it's all of our mobile and portable radio system. And then also, I've had discussions, we hire a contractor to do our NFPA 1582 physicals for our firefighters. I've had conversations with Chief Tanner about us utilizing Horry County and going to their facility for our firefighters to do that. They would actually be scheduled and they would go there to do it. We're doing a cost analysis of that to see if we can even do that this year, or maybe that's still a work in progress. But I think that's an important step for us to take. And then fire service delivery to the community. This again is based on ISO findings and the regression. I think we still need to continue to have the discussion about our efficient delivery of suppression in EMS and special operations. What do we house out of the Surfside Beach Fire Department? What equipment do we have? Is it functional? And really, do we need it through a cost evaluation? And how does that fit into our ISO evaluation? And with that, I stand ready to answer any questions.
It's a lot of information.
It is a lot of information, and there's more in the information that I gave
Yeah,
you.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
Chief, when you give us the statistics of the number of calls and what they're about and so forth,
Yes.
I assume that includes everything. That includes all your responses in accordance with the mutual aid agreement and everything else. Do you have any breakdown as to how much of that is concentric just on Surfside Beach?
I do not. That is something that we've been working with Horry County to try and get that information. And I will be able to do a better job at that, because now all of our information is tracked through ESO. So we're not getting it from two places. Yes, ma'am, when I give you those numbers, it includes everything. It includes what we respond to in the town of Surfside Beach and what we respond to in our contract area in Horry County, Murrells Inlet, wherever. But I do believe that is important. I will tell you that our numbers are not, just based on calls that I hear go out in preliminary numbers, we're not running as many calls in Horry County as what a lot of people think we are.
Well, that's why I was asking.
Yes, ma'am. I kind of figured that. But I do believe it is important to show a statistic on that. Sometimes we're going to run a quarter more in Horry County than we are here, and it's going to be vice versa. But rest assured, Horry County is running more into the town of Surfside Beach than we are out. So that is something that I can get you, especially as we work better with our ESO software and our EMS reporting and all of that.
That'd be good.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Rob.
Yes, sir.
I want to thank you for the job y'all did last Saturday. That was a great event.
Thank
So
you, sir.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
But I wonder if Rob can talk a little about the hurricane and what some of the work was done there.
Yes, first of all, we were lucky that the hurricane was the level that it was at. But I can tell you from the town perspective, and I'm not sure if a lot of the community members know this, but I also act as the emergency manager for the town, along with the fire chief. And I only say that because all I really do is coordinate. Sabrina, Kenny, Robert, all the department heads, John, we all collectively work together in a very collaborative approach, along with Mr. Shanahan, obviously, to make sure that we were providing the resources, doing the things that we needed to do from our emergency operation plan, which the town does have. And we followed that emergency operations plan in accordance with our plan and also working with Horry County's Emergency Operations Center. So I think from the approach of collaboration from all the department heads, it was stellar. I think from an emergency operations center, quite frankly, we have a lot of work to do. I know as there's discussions about a master plan and what all of that looks like, the emergency operations center needs to be a high consideration. Because what we did is we had a virtual emergency operations center. So what that means is I set up Zoom meetings with all the department heads. It worked. We kept in touch with each other. We knew what each other were doing. I reacted to the needs of the other department heads and worked with Horry County to get resources that we needed. Luckily, we didn't need a lot from Horry County. We used Murrells Inlet and some other resources to be able to come in and help us. So the virtual EOC worked, but it worked with this one like really, we were razor thin. If we get a larger scale incident, we are going to need a functional emergency operations center that I know Chief Hoffman and I have had a lot of conversation about with Mr. Shanahan on what that should look like. how we move forward, because it's just not about hurricanes. It is about, we know the world that we live in. It is about, an active shooter. It is about a tornado. It's about any type of big event that we should be ready for. But Mr. Holder, I'm glad you asked that. The community can rest assured that the department heads and the emergency operation plan and Mr. Shanahan's guidance worked very well. Do we have needs? Yes. We need a high water vehicle. We need to look at our EOC. We need other things. There's a lot of needs. And we actually just had a meeting on that with the department heads on Monday.
Yeah, we had an after action report. We went through all the needs, and of course, we'll put something together for the council based on that information.
Yes, sir. And Mr. Shanahan's directed me to rewrite the EOP. So the emergency operation plan is also being rewritten also. So there's a lot of moving pieces to that. But I can't speak for all the other department heads, but I can a little bit because we talk all the time. And I think collectively we were able to manage that incident effectively. So thank you, sir.
Anybody else? Well, thank you very much.
Larry wants me to mention, I'm sorry, Mayor, and I'll back
Go
away
ahead.
from here. We talk about automatic aid and mutual aid. The high water vehicle, I made one phone call to the chief in Murrells Inlet, and we had that high water vehicle in the boat that Chief Hoffman was calling for. They sent it to us, no questions asked. We got a phone call at 11, 12 o'clock at night for the major structure fire that was in Murrells Inlet. You all probably heard about that in Garden City. And they needed a front end loader backhoe to clear the roadway because they could not get fire apparatus to it. And you know who cleared that roadway? Surfside Beach. Lonnie, I called John Adair. John Adair immediately said, we'll send Lonnie right there, Rob, no problem. So that's the type of relationship. This is a relationship business, all of it. I don't have to tell you all that it is, but we were right there to help them do that. So. And Mr. Stamey, did you want to ask me about staffing for the fire department?
We done talked about staffing for the fire department. You've got your.
I should have went first.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Rob. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda is a proclamation from the state of South Carolina, County of Horry, Town of Surfside Beach, Proclamation 22-139, Town of Surfside Beach 2022 Fire Prevention Week. Whereas the Town of Surfside Beach is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living in and visiting our state, and whereas fire is a serious public safety concern both locally and nationally, and homes and locations where people are greatest at risk from fire, and whereas home fires caused 2,580 civilian deaths in the United States in 2020, according to the National Fire Prevention Association, and fire departments in the United States responded to 356,500 home fires. And whereas smoke alarms sense smoke well before you can, alerting you of the danger in the event of which you may have as little as 2 minutes to escape safely. And whereas working smoke alarms cut the risk of dying in reported homes fires in half, and which you may have little less than 2 minutes to escape safely. And whereas working smoke alarms cut the risk of dying in reported homes fires in half. And whereas the Town of Surfside Beach residents should be sure everyone in the home understands the sounds of a smoke alarm and know how to respond. And whereas the Town of Surfside Beach residents who have planned and practiced a home fire escape plan are more prepared and will therefore be more likely to survive a fire. And whereas the Town of Surfside Beach residents will make sure their smoke and carbon monoxide alarms meet the needs of all family members, including those of sensory or physical disabilities. And whereas the Town of Surfside Beach first responders are dedicated to reducing the occurrence of home fires and home fire injuries through prevention and protection education. And whereas the Town of Surfside Beach residents are responsive to public education measures to better able them to take steps to increase their safety from fire, especially in the homes, and better able to take personal steps to increase the safety of fire. And whereas the 2022 Fire Prevention Week theme, Fire Won't Wait, Plan Your Escape, effectively serves to remind the town of Surfside Beach it is important to have home and fire escape plan. Therefore, I, Robert Hellyer, Mayor of the town of Surfside Beach, do hereby proclaim October 9th through October 15th, 2022 as Fire Prevention Week throughout the state. And I urge all people of the town of Surfside Beach to plan and practice a home fire escape and Fire Prevention Week 2022, and to support the many public safety activities and efforts of the town of Surfside Beach Fire and Emergency Services. Be it resolved this 11th day of October, 2022, under my signature. And the next thing on the agenda is the Peer Committee recommendation presentation.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm Robert Kraus of the Peer Committee. Alex Samsel and I will be presenting today. We've got basically our whole committee here. Dusty McCracken and John Hyatt is in the back. Tabitha Mull's listening in cyberspace. So we've got everybody here. Thanks, Alex. We're here to make recommendations on social media and rules. And before I get into that, I'd just like to do a little overview of what we've been doing here. We're here in May. We brought some potential lessees for the businesses, the main buildings on the pier. And in this time, we quickly set up 3 phases of work. You can see the survey, the appraisal, the RFP responses, all of that stuff that led to those lease recommendations back in May. Phase 2, we're working on kiosks and the build out under pier items and a few other things. We've wrapped up pretty much everything in phase 1, and we're well into phase 2. Some of the kiosk and build out issues take a little more time, so we've moved on to some phase 3 items, and that's actually what we're here to talk about today: the marketing and web presence, and then some rules. So we, on the rules, we wanted to tie them to existing ordinances and come up with just a simple sign that would be visible for the visitors on the pier. And we'll have well, Alex will run through the details on that. And then marketing and web presence, we really strongly feel that we need a specific Facebook site. We've talked that over with the administration, and the response was they just want to handle it through the existing Facebook account, but we think that the pier needs its own specific, its own site to facilitate searches. So Alex is going to run through that, give you some details.
Thanks, Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening. All right, a lot of, thanks for having us here tonight. A lot of information on this slide. I'll spare you going through all the details of that matrix there. But on the left side are the previous 14 posts on Facebook for the town of Surfside. It is about a week aged when we put the slide together. On the right is, for comparison purposes, the pier at Garden City Beach. In summary, over 14 different posts on Facebook, which include mayor's update, street closure, it was a foggy morning, fire department new patch, which was great, family festival, dropping off hazardous waste, things along those lines. It garnered about 900 likes. On the right side, the pier at Garden City Beach had a total same number of Facebook posts at about 8,000 likes. So to put it plainly, when the town posts something on its government-based Facebook site, they're going to get about 60 likes on average. A attraction-based website like the Pier Garden City is going to get about 600 likes. Roughly 9-fold the amount of likes, 11 times more comments, and probably most important for our town that thrives on tourism, 6 times more shares. Everything that was posted on the town's website, certainly appropriate, great for residents, a lot of good information. But if I were to ask you to imagine you just woke up, you live in Ohio, it's February 4th, it's snowing outside, your kids want to go outside, you're ready for a vacation, you want to hit the beach, and you decide to hit South Strand, and you're on Facebook trying to figure out where you're going to spend your money, where you're going to invest in your vacation, and you pull up Surfside Beach because you heard they had a new pier, or you pull up Garden City Beach. You've got 2 different Facebook pages. One's a government Facebook page. You'll see the pictures there that are posted on our actual Facebook page. We've got a proclamation. We've got some news of where people can drop off TVs and batteries. We've got a road closure. Lots of pictures of you fine folks, which I'm sure will get some likes. But me, I'm in Ohio. It's snowing. I'm going to go on the right-hand side. I got some people fishing. I like to fish. I got the pier. I got a band schedule. I know what kind of bait I could buy, what kind of food I could buy on the pier. It's just a different look and feel. I think by us collapsing the pier marketing, which is if this was any of your $20 million that you were investing in a business or an attraction, you would not commingle it with the mayor's face.
I appreciate that.
You wouldn't commingle it with a lot of town-based, relevant, good information, but if we're attracting people from the outside, and if you harken back to our presentation a few months ago, we made some recommendations. We talked about the pier as a financial silo. It's a little iffy when you look at the P&L. But when you spread it out a little further, look at some other local businesses, if they get a little bit more traffic, the pier looks that much more attractive. When you spread it out across the town, you think of rents, dialing that up just a little bit, vacancies, particularly spreading out the seasons, dial the vacancies down a little bit, all of a sudden the pier becomes a vital part of the town. I don't think we'll get there as fast by wrapping in pier marketing with the government's Facebook page. And I totally appreciate the fact that the town wants to gain some efficiency by collapsing in all these different marketing efforts. But sometimes efficiency does not equate to effectiveness, and I think that's the case here. The micro font here is, but you've also received a separate letter which summarizes our recommendation. On the bottom of that letter, in the middle of it, there's pros and cons. It will require a minor amount of incremental work, switching from one Facebook page to another when we're posting things specific to the pier, a little bit of marketing to network, a little bit of marketing to drive people from the town's Facebook page to also follow the pier page. There's some statistics at the bottom of that page relative to other piers in the area, relative to the Marsh Walk. For example, the Marsh Walk gets 60% more traffic than we do as a town, right? It is a 1,000-foot wooden boardwalk with some restaurants on it. We should be doing a lot better than the Marsh Walk. No disrespect to the Marsh Walk. So that letter there contains the final summary. We'll come back to this in the end. Rob will go give a summary of our specific asks of council. And we'll switch gears into the pier rules. Rob mentioned one of our guidelines was, keep it simple and succinct. Just to go over the process, we reviewed other pier rules, not just here, but far and wide, all over the place actually. We solicited some input. We reviewed what people on the survey that we created earlier in the year. People had free forms of what they'd like in the pier, and obviously people took that opportunity to add in what they don't want, or pier should have X or Y, allow this, not allow that. And we took it as an opportunity to direct some traffic to the website. Now keep in mind, this is not an all-inclusive list of rules. All town ordinances apply to the pier. But we know there's going to be a sign with rules on the pier. This is a simple things to keep topical items, relevant items to the pier, front of mind for people entering the pier. I've been here for 4+ years living. I've frequented here a lot longer than that. I couldn't tell you what is on our beach rule signs. I have no idea. I pass it 100 times a year. I couldn't rattle off the first 2 things on that list. So try to avoid overdoing it with the rules. But this is our draft of a sign. The rules are listing out prohibited activities, which include smoking, no glass, No pets other than service animals, no fireworks, no jumping, standing, jumping from the pier, standing or sitting on the railing, or any disruptive behavior. No bicycles, skateboards, skates, or similar equipment. No littering, inclusive of balloons, lanterns, confetti, or glitter. No outside alcohol, not purchased on the pier. And no feeding of the birds. We also state that all ordinances in the town are in effect. Direct people to SCDNR for relevant situations with the appropriate phone number, emergency number, non-emergency number. Got a QR code there that the town can create within a matter of 30 seconds, which will drive people right to the piers portion of the website for further information or just to get the schedules of activities, things along those lines. So I'm going to turn it back over to Rob to present the conclusion and our specific actions.
Thanks, Alex. Yeah, so pretty simply, the social media, I want to say that we had 2 non-Facebook users on the committee out of 5. So we were a little concerned, how much attention do we want to put on Facebook? But even those of us who don't use it, and I'm one of those, realizes that a vast majority of people do. And, there's no way that most visitors are going to automatically assume that the town of Surfside Beach owns that pier. Most of them around here are privately owned, and there's nothing to drive you to the town of Surfside Beach website. So we really think that unique individual Facebook page is necessary. And as far as the rules go, we try to keep it simple. It's stuff that's based on our existing ordinances. We've got the other information, a lot of this, you've seen these same sort of things at Garden City or other fishing piers, the shark, the DNR stuff. And the QR code, we think is a simple way for those who really want to get into it to just take a look, and they can look up, get all the details they want. So that's the 2 things we'd like to consider, the social media and the rules, and we'll entertain any questions.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
Robert, as we talked yesterday, there's another initiative focused on the businesses in the E-District to do a similar marketing type of campaign. And we actually had the business committee meeting this morning, as I think I briefed you earlier today, that we do have a representative assigned from the business committee to work with the peer committee to talk about the synergy of a cohesive marketing campaign, not only through a Facebook page. So, I would kind of recommend that this expand beyond just the pier, but more of, we'll call it the Pier Village, just for lack of a better word, because that's what everybody's calling it. But whatever that jargon ends up being, that incorporates the businesses of the E-District, it incorporates the businesses and the activities of the pier, but it also links to our other business areas and what this town of Surfside can provide from an entertainment perspective. We have government operations, of course, but we're a whole lot more than just that. So I would like this first item, and I'm fully supportive of having a unique Facebook page for it. So I'll just say that. But I would like to see the business committee and the peer committee work together and get that cohesive approach to branding Surfside with a focus on, our individual business areas. We typically think of it in 3 different areas. We've got businesses of the E-District, which includes the pier. We've got downtown, which includes, this piece of Surfside. And then we've got our 17 corridor. So I think if we can come up with that synergy and that cohesive approach, and, we've got a Facebook page that wants to focus on the E-District and, the pier, and that's fine. I'm supportive of that, but I want to make sure that we're looking at the bigger picture and we're branding and marketing the town as well.
Okay. Yeah, I think, from our committee perspective, from the very beginning, we've thought that the pier is the crown jewel, not only of Surfside, but really the whole Grand Strand. And,
it is now. It's really what left.
Yeah, well, there you go. That was before Ian, yes. And even more so now, yes. So, that's been our focus, our attention. We do realize there's a halo effect as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'll do a quick survey of the committee. I don't think we have an issue bringing the whole E district, the whole town into it. I mean, but with promoting the pier as the main,
right.
That's the thing. But I don't see why we couldn't do that at the same time.
Has somebody reserved this name, the Surfside Beach Fishing Pier?
Yes, the town has. Robert, you reserved that several weeks ago, I believe.
Okay.
There is a similar one though.
There's a similar one, yes. I think
Called
it's
Surfside Pier.
Beach. Yeah.
Yeah.
But without the fishing in it, I
Yeah,
believe. Yes.
it's very good.
But we may also be able to reach out to the administrator of that page.
We have.
Oh, she's not having any of them?
No.
And it's not that old.
Yeah, she's happy with what she's got. so,
Okay,
yeah.
okay, that's fine.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Bloomcrest, is this going to interfere with anything to do with the town website? Are you going to have a problem with doing this if we decide that we want our own they want their own Facebook page? Is it going to come in conflict with the town? Is it going to be a problem for you? Yes, sir. Please do.
Well, first, we say good evening, and I applaud the pier committee's efforts to make the pier everything it can be. I know we want the best for this town. We want the pier to be the best it can be. To answer your question, so the town's pier, everyone knows, is the town's biggest asset, right? It's going to be the biggest marketing thing, for the town. Currently, the town has 26,000 Facebook followers on its page. Much of those followers actually do and are engaged with any time we post about the pier. We actually have a lot of people that look just at that town Facebook page specifically for information about the pier. Now, separating out pier content to a separate page would potentially split some of that audience. So, as he said, we use the Facebook page to market the pier, to market the area, market the beach, to get out information about street cleanings, road closures, events, promotions, all sorts of things. So we have a large following on that Facebook page right now that are getting additional information and things about our town. So when they come visit, they'll know about some things that they might not otherwise learn or see should we decide to have a separate page and to split that audience. Yes, if you all choose, I'll be happy to work with and create a page if the council desires that.
Well, excuse me, Mr. Mayor, did it not be linked, the two linked together? So if you're on one, you could click into it and go straight to the other one too, back and forth, where you can see that there is two town providing.
So Facebook in the bio sections, about sections, it does allow you to have a website link.
Mm-hmm.
So currently our website links back to our page, right? Our website in general to have a whole bunch of other information and things. I haven't seen it done that way, nor do I know if there's a place to create a link specifically to another Facebook page. I could look into that and see, but I have not seen that done anywhere. I spoke today with the Charleston County, their Park Recreation Department. They own Folly Beach, which is a municipal pier.
Mm-hmm.
I also spoke today with some folks down in Clearwater Beach, which owns a municipal pier, Pier 60. Both of those municipalities consolidated, and have done so over the last few years, consolidated a lot of their Facebook pages. Years ago, the prevailing thought was have a Facebook page for this, have a Facebook page for that, have a Facebook page, for all these different things. But recently, growth and organic growth within Facebook is become increasingly difficult. I was talking with one person today who said you could set up a new page and you'd be lucky to get 1,000 people within a year following that page. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen with this. Yes, again, the pier is a very big asset and may draw a whole lot. I just don't know. But both of those municipalities have made a concerted effort over the last few years to consolidate their social media footprint for the reasons I described. To have one place where people can go to get information of any nature about the municipality, the pier, events, other assets, so on and so forth, because they see the value in that. I hope that answers your question.
It does. I look at it as, I see what they're talking about. They want to brand a Facebook page like a business would.
Sure.
You want to promote that pier.
Yes, sir.
Promote that pier area.
Yes, sir.
But in the town's Facebook page, you got a lot of filler stuff that goes in it that somebody don't want to dig through all the weeds to get to what they want to know
Sure.
about the pier.
Yes, sir.
They're coming here on vacation to go fishing. They want to go walk the pier, get ice cream, what's there to eat. They don't care if we're closing a road or paving a road or whatever. That's local people want to see that stuff, I believe. So that's why I said if you have a link in the thing that somebody could say, you carry some of the stuff on your page that they have.
They don't want to know all the municipal information.
Right,
They want to know,
they don't
they want to know
that.
what you can do at the pier and what
Right.
we can get done. And like you said, the pictures they showed on Garden City Pier tells you how much the bait is and how much,
Right. Well,
stuff is and what there is to do over there.
And I agree with you on that. Not to outright disagree with you, we did just have a hurricane that had a lot of flooding downtown, where we had to get out some information to not just our residents, but to visitors that are not here all the time.
Right.
If they are following our town page because of the pier content and pier information, they are more likely to get the information that may help them during such a situation.
Oh, I agree. But I'm just saying if the two are linked to a certain point where you got some of the fluff on your side of the pier, but they are promoting the full pier is what they're trying to do.
There could be a link on there, on the fishing pier that goes directly to the municipal.
Yeah.
So, so that they can go back and forth. But
Right.
if they want to see the bright side, they can go see the bright side. Or if they want the municipal side, they can come over there.
If they see a hurricane,
I mean, that's
they
just
can put
my
on their
thought.
site, go to into this one.
And if it's not working, we can always change it, right?
You could, you'd end up just, essentially just would unpublish whatever that page is.
Well, back, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Back to the peer committee. Alex, I know you're pretty smart on this computer stuff. Can you come and answer some of these questions that we're having about this? Can it be linked together and it work?
I think with the way it was reserved now, you reserve the Facebook page, Surfside Beach Fishing Pier, under the Surfside's Facebook page. That's kind of like the parent page.
So the way Facebook pages work is that as a person, you have your own account. Then there are pages that are developed for businesses, and then you as a person get invited to be an admin or something for that page. There was some concern that your group, the peer committee brought up, and other people have brought up about the other page that was mentioned, and whether or not there would be others that would take up certain names and such, and spread some of that information even thinner, right? Split up even more if others were to create pages. I don't know if you know this, but there's a surfsidepier.com that someone has about listed for $10,000 because they want to get that. But
Right.
at any rate, what I did under my personal account, which of course I work for the town, so it's essentially for you all, is with that in mind, I did go and just grab some of those to limit other pages popping up and, again, diluting or making some of that other content that's not officially us, in an attempt to kind of dissuade some of that.
But just like anything else, if you build the widget the way it should be built or good, you don't have to worry about what the competition is going to be.
I agree with that.
And if we don't do it, that other site will prosper by your pictures because they're putting content with it, putting the stuff in it that people want to hear or want to read when they come to Surfside Beach.
And nobody wants to see my face on that.
I can take that off, no problem.
I'll say that raised a lot of valid points. I think that the counter points would be, I'd keep them both running. The town should include anything that's related.
Sure.
It's a race. Let's check back in 12 months and see what happens. I mean, it shouldn't be up to us to decide. We've got consumers who've decided for us. In fact, I'd go as far as to say the peer posts carry the town's website. 1 out of 14 had to do with the peer construction update, and it was a third of the visits or likes. So we can't abandon
No.
peer updates on the town website, but literally, those of you who posted on Facebook have posted on Facebook. It is a very quick exercise. If you're going to create the context and then any wording, cutting and pasting and throwing it in 2 different spots is the easy part.
Well,
And a year later, if you want to shut one down, put a couple notices, drive people to somewhere else.
well, we can also put on the town page, you know, we have the ability to feature posts. So you just feature one of the posts, and that's the first thing that's going to pop up, no matter how many other posts are there. There's a featured post that is the Surfside Beach Fishing Pier just posted, you know, whatever thing there. And if anybody wants to read that particular post, they just click on it, they'll be taken to the other page.
Where my head goes, yes.
And I mean, you can do vice versa. You know, you can put on the Surfside Beach page that we're featuring a post from the town page talking about, you know, hurricane preparedness or whatever. And if somebody's here, they're interested in that, they click on that featured post and it takes them over to the other page. So, I mean, there are ways to link it without, you know, an electronic link.
Yeah, and there is really no limit to this, right? There's the Marsh Walk, but that should just have 60% more people interested in Marsh Walk than the town of Surfside Beach with everything.
Right.
But then Drunken Jack's has got its own page. Then Merle's Inlet's got its own page.
Right.
And then, right, so there's branch offs of this. But I think we have some energy around this. It sounds silly saying it, but if any of you are going to go to Disney, you don't go to the city of Orlando's Facebook page.
No.
Like maybe ultimately you get there, look for something, and they've got tons of valuable information, but you're coming in from out of town, you're looking specifically for an item. And just like right now, there's, I don't know, a dozen Surfside Facebook pages with all kinds of stuff in it. There's going to be many different peer pages on Facebook too. We might as well strike earlier, well, not
Yes.
first,
Yeah.
and see what happens. I think for the incremental time spent, this one, for the largest asset in the town, a little incremental.
And who would be the administrator of that?
I would
The town would be, as a town entity, as a town asset, the town should be the administrator of that.
Okay.
I mean, the committee can create whatever content they want and just feed it to you to post on it.
Or anybody can. You know, when somebody coming in from out of state catches a big fish and they share it or tag somebody else on it, all this
It just goes up.
spread. Less likely to happen on a government base.
Right.
It's just not fun and good times feeling.
Right.
It's stoic and factual.
Right.
How much more work is this put on you, Rob?
Facebook pages are time consuming. I know they had on one of their slides that it's minimal, but they do take some time. I couldn't put a number on it right now. You know, it guys, you know, depends on how many posts a week or how many posts a day or you know, what kind of content you're looking for. There was another committee that met a month or so ago, and someone else from a different committee asked about starting a committee page, and you know, what would it take? And comments from that committee are, it takes a lot. You have to be on top of them, and we currently have 5 Facebook pages in town. Not that we have the town page. There's KCB has one. The police and fire department, of course, have their page, and those are for, you know, public safety purposes. And planning, building, and zoning has one for CRS and PPI. And then there's, of course, the visit Surfside page. So I oversee all of those to some degree or another. It would be a 6th one, and there definitely would be some added time.
Well,
That would be some of my concern with this is how much more time, how much more it's going to put on. Rob, I think it's a great idea, guys. I really do. But I'm looking at it as how much more are we gonna put on Rob to do for this town? I mean, Rob's got a pretty full plate now. Are we gonna add some more to him and not give him help to do this? I mean, it's sort of a thing that we all ought to look at. I know it's great. It'd be tremendous to have this, but I just don't know if we have the staffing in Rob's department to add more work on to him as of now, because Rob has a lot to do, and most of us up here know it if you go to any events or anything else that he handles.
Do you handle the KSSB website?
I am an administrator on their page.
Right, but you don't
they-
do postings and stuff like that, do you?
They-
You just sort of monitor it?
Well, that's what we're talking about. You'd be a monitor, but you're going to have to delegate sometime along the line where if the committee over there decides that they're going to make two of those the administrator and you're the administrator, and if they get crazy and do some stuff they shouldn't be doing, that'd be for you to bring to us or put a stop to it real quick, then bring it to us and then address it. Just like KS, Surfside Beach Beautiful, they do a great job of what they post all the time. They're always out there posting stuff. I share their stuff all the time. I share what you put out there sometimes. I don't think you got that much more work from doing it, but you have to delegate it out where you spot see it, but you don't have to babysit it all day long. I don't think you should have to do that.
Yes, sir.
We believe that,
Come up to the-
oh, yeah.
Up to the microphone.
Sure. Yeah, we believe the model you just mentioned that keeps Surfside Beach beautiful could work. We could help support somewhat. I think you've got a pretty good arrangement with Tabitha already. We would be able to do the same sort of thing. And we do believe there's going to be a huge increase in Facebook traffic with the pier, irrespective of if it all gets pushed into the same page or another. I don't know. I cannot, like I said, I don't even use Facebook, but I can't predict anything about the linking the stuff together. But I think the big workload is just going to be the pier. And then,
Right.
managing a separate page, I don't know how much more that is.
I can see you picking up stuff from their page, putting it on your page for the towns, just as fluff, just like everything else is moving through. But they could run the page, have two or three of them run the page, not
Yeah,
you.
And I just got an offer from one of our guys who knows more than I do. So,
That would
Yeah.
be my next thing. Are y'all gonna try to help run this page? Or after this pier's finished, are y'all gonna be disbanded and over? Once it's.
Partly up to you guys.
Well, I'm just saying that could happen.
Yeah.
Then what happens to him? One of y'all volunteer to go work for him?
If you want to answer that question, I think you're asking, do we market the pier or not? Not, do we market it on this Facebook page or that one?
Yes, sir.
So the time spent is marketing the pier.
Yes.
Doesn't matter which Facebook approach.
Mhm.
So if the town's not interested in investing the time marketing the pier,
Then why do it?
then I don't have an answer for that. But if there is an interest in marketing the pier, then our stance is the incremental time of option A versus B is minimal. Rob's right, it does take time to create a post and put it out there, but whether he puts it here or there or both, I don't know, but we're willing to help out as much as possible. I think we got a 4-year term, that'll get you through.
I'll get it built, but
Maybe done.
Maybe.
But yeah, we're happy to help.
Yes, and that would be, as I mentioned a while ago, we're just putting more on Rob by himself to
Well,
handle
but-
more things. Mr.
yeah.
Shanahan wants to.
yeah, I have a comment. as well.
The other testing. The other thing is staff will be watching, because if the workload got too much and he couldn't do it, then I'd be coming to y'all and saying, we need help, and this is why.
Well, but one of our goals that we established last year and carried through this year was a general marketing and branding initiative for the town. And that was one of the initiatives that gave rise to creating the public information officer. Now, I understand his role has morphed a little bit and away from that overall objective, and it's been much more hands-on, orchestrating the events and some of those other things keeping him busy. So, but I don't think we want to lose sight of, one of our primary goals was branding and marketing the town of Surfside Beach.
Agreed.
So, if that means in the next budget year, yeah, we're probably not going to get him any help this year because I think we took it out of the budget. But if we look at next year's, we got to start looking at, if we get the peer committee and the business committee together, they generate this marketing plan that they're ready to prepare that goes beyond a Facebook page that they're ready to present to the town. We then start to look at what does it take to implement that strategy? What other resources do we need and help for the public information officer's department, and expand that responsibility and maybe add that headcount at that time. But we don't want to lose sight to that primary goal that we established 2 years ago. And that was, how do we reinvigorate the brand that is Surfside Beach, and, get away from, not only from a tourist perspective, but our residents, from local businesses that say, oh, you live in Surfside Beach, I'm not coming to work there. I mean, it goes to such a bigger picture, and this is a small piece that helps move that drastically forward. Because if we start marketing and promoting our crown jewels, with that pier coming on board, that just expands. Because like I said, the business committee is already looking at the e-district and expanding that marketing. And we've got representatives on that committee that are also focused on improving our downtown area and improving our corridors. So, it will snowball to the point that, maybe it's not something the peer committee or KSBB or, Robert alone can handle, but that's a new decision based on, the improvements we're already seeing. It's all to bring additional revenue and, credibility to our town as a destination. So, I think this is a great step forward. I think it's something, like I said previously, that needs to coordinate with what the business committee wants to do with the e-district. Because I know they've also reserved various Facebook page names and various, URLs and everything else in preparation of doing a marketing campaign for the area. So I just think this is a good step. There are ways to link multiple pages together, just like I said, from feature posts, you can do that. And I'm just in favor of promoting the town, and if we need more resources as we grow and develop that plan, then so be it. That's what we need to evaluate. Because if we're growing that plan, we're also growing that accommodations tax and hospitality tax base. So, it's not like we stagnate. We know it's going to grow. We can control our growth, or we can let it happen to us. So, and I'm never one to sit back and let it just happen. I want to control where we participate in that growth. So I think this is a great step with, this project is coming to an end. We've got a small window of opportunity to grab that golden ring and start running with it. I know Rob and Zach Baker are supposed to talk tomorrow about merging the two initiatives from the business committee and the peer committee. And maybe it's not Surfside Beach Fishing Pier. Maybe it's Surfside Beach, and I hate to say Pier Village, but that's what they call it. Whatever that ends up being, that entity. And maybe we promote the whole thing in a separate Facebook page together. It's all right there together. So, I'm in favor of establishing a separate Facebook page, linking it to the town page. If it gets overly burdensome, we address it.
Agreed.
Mr. Mayor. But the key to me on any advertising for any business is got to be the person who's doing it has got to love it. If you don't love what you do, and you're not an exciting person, and I use Tabitha, and when I think of this, I mean, she is like a cheerleader out there constantly, and it makes you happy to see them. Well, when I look at Surfside Beach Pier with my family and I'm coming on vacation, I don't want somebody, well, here's this and that. You want to get somebody that's going to be excited about it. And you're going to have to advertise. whether y'all on it for 4 years or somebody replaces y'all and somebody replaces us, it's a constant. It's going to keep on going on and on and on. It's not going to stop. So anything you can do for putting people in that position that are excited about the pier, excited about the aspect of Surfside Beach, they have to be.
Mr. Mayor, back to
Yes.
my original question is, are we going to overwork Rob for what we hired him to do? I listen, guys, I'm all about the Facebook page. I ain't trying to sit up here and try to down what y'all want. I'm looking after an employee of this town. I don't want him to be overworked with a burden of something that he wasn't expecting to do, because he's been added on already, a lot of things that he probably didn't know he's getting when he come here. My question to Mr. Shanahan and to y'all, I mean, it's all great. I think it's a great idea. But my question to you is, make sure you monitor this job to make sure this guy is not being overworked from something we're just to keep adding and adding and adding and adding to.
Agreed.
I mean, if he needs some help, I'd really like to know that, because of we as a town keep adding things to this gentleman. I mean, next thing you know, he'll be wanting to leave us, as some of our other employees do.
Well, again, I think Rob knows that if he has issues, that he can bring it to me. And I mean, we spent an hour today talking about things, and we do that with all our departments. I think if you ask any of the department heads, they will tell you that, you know, we talk about increased workload, we talk about processes, and if it gets where he can't do the job because it's just not enough time in the day or in the week, we will bring it to you and we will say, hey, we need another body or we need a half a body. But yeah, we watch that with all our folks.
And Rob,
a lot of it can be done in delegation too.
Oh, yeah, that's
Delegate
part-
stuff out
that's
to
part of it.
volunteer people.
Yes, sir, that's
as
part
a
of it.
council person, please, if you get overworked, talk to him. Don't be afraid to go talk to him.
He ain't afraid of me.
Dusty?
Okay, Dustin McCracken, good evening, everyone. So I was just want to speak to that. The peer committee meets every week. We have 3 to 2 hour meetings every week. So we're not afraid of the volunteer work in that. We will be glad to support Rob in whatever he needs for that. And I feel like if it's a $20 million pier and it's a landmark pier for Surfside Beach, and the way we can attract that hospitality tax money, because if we did go back to all the things hospitality, we want to spend more money every year. So a lot of that hospitality tax is funded for the extra staffing in the police department and fire department. It's also funded for tourism and all that stuff in general. So, I mean, when we think about that and bring more people into that and track them through a Facebook and a marketing plan, as y'all's vision is to begin with, we recoup that money to be able to offer him more support. Then we'll be able to hire somebody to give him some support if we need to. But I really feel like the Facebook page is the route that we probably should go now. And then if Rob needs more help or if he wants to lean into us more, I mean, we have 5 committee members that's going to be here for 4 years. It's y'all's choice to disband that peer committee at any time. So if you feel like in 4 years that you need more committee members, then you nominate them in and they can support Rob then as well. So I believe the part where we're talking about putting so much on Rob, you have plenty of committees out here. We're doing a lot of work and research already, and we're offering our support. So you have 5 people that will lean in and help him when he needs it. So
Thank you.
my point.
Very good.
Thanks, peer committee, all of you.
Thank you, Rob.
I'm not speaking.
They're not speaking?
Okay, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adopt.
That's point of order,
Can't do it, just,
not on a communication item.
okay. That's fine.
So Jenny, we can't take a vote on any of the thing that's on there? Okay. All right, next on the agenda is the First reading of ordinance 22-0951, Chapter 13, an ordinance of the Town of Surfside Beach to amend Chapter 13, Buildings and Building Regulations of the Town Code of Ordinances, specifically 1321, adoption of building codes.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This ordinance is basically housekeeping. I apologize. I did send everyone an email this afternoon. I hope you all got it. The purpose of the ordinance is to clarify the adoption of the international codes that apply to the state of South Carolina and the adoption of Chapter 1 in its entirety, the administration of the international codes with South Carolina modifications, or in other words, South Carolina building codes, international fire codes with South Carolina modifications, South Carolina fire codes, and the international residential codes with South Carolina modifications, or South Carolina residential codes. If you look and the email that I sent you earlier, the mandatory codes referenced in South Carolina codes modified and adopted by the South Carolina Building Code Council must be enforced by every South Carolina municipality and county. And the appendices to mandatory codes may not be issued by may not be used by municipalities or counties unless the appendices are specifically adopted as local modifications by the Building Code Council. And in my haste to get the ordinance and decision papers to the town clerk in time for the packets, I inadvertently left out the existing code sections for 13-21. And I did attach it to the emails that I sent to you today. There are no new codes being recommended. The only changes include specifically listing Chapter 1 and clearly stating that the town has adopted the South Carolina modifications of the international codes. These changes were requested by the South Carolina Fire Marshals Association and also recommended by the International Code Council. We also tried to write the new ordinance in a more user-friendly version to make it easier for anyone looking for the information to clearly know which codes the town has adopted. We did send this information to the town's attorney, which did approve the ordinance as written, and the existing sections will be included in your packet upon second reading. I will show you what we're proposing for the new layout and design of the new proposed ordinance as it's written. It comes directly from the South Carolina codes of law. So we're not adding anything. We're just clarifying. What we did add that you won't find in the old is we did add that we want the file of record for these codes to be found in the town clerk office, which is currently in the ordinance, and the planning, building, and zoning ordinance, which is currently in the ordinance. But since we do have a full-time town fire marshal, we want these codes to be readily available in his office as well, because we do have he's doing a lot of inspections now. And instead of having someone having to come to our office to look up those codes, they can have them readily available. So the fire marshal can have them. So if they go to see him in his office, he can show them right there, so they don't have to make a trip to town hall. That's the only that's the only changes that we've asked for is clarification. This is a joint effort from my department and also the fire department. But if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer those. And if I can't, I'm sure the fire marshal can.
Anybody have any questions?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to accept ordinance 22-0951 for first reading.
Second.
Okay, is there any further discussion before we vote on it? Mr. Stamey?
Yes.
Holder?
Yes.
Keating?
Yes.
Crecklaw?
Yes.
Kinkin?
Yes.
Drake?
Yes.
And myself is yes. So that has passed unanimously.
Thank you.
And you may as well stay up here because you're going to be on the next one too,
I'm going to have to get my folder.
which is the resolution 220154, approval of the town's community rating system program for public information.
Okay, this resolution came up in 2014 and was approved by council at that time. We established a committee that would actually help the town establish a group of citizens, stakeholders, if you will, that would help get out the word of how to, instead of the town staff constantly telling people to turn around, don't drown, or you really need to get some flood insurance, or you really need to build or how to evacuate. A lot of the residents and the property owners, they hear from the government and they go, yeah, okay, all right. But if they hear it from another citizen, or if they hear it from different different stakeholders, they're more likely to listen. So FEMA had recommended, and we certainly do get credit for this, but FEMA recommended that a committee be formed, and they actually established who should be on that committee. Realtors were certainly one of them. Insurance agents should be one of them. Property owners in a flood zone. It was a plus to have an environmentalist on it. We actually get extra credit for that through the FEMA organization. And the town should really be, we're so fortunate to have this, because you wouldn't believe how many times I go to a class or go to a FEMA conference, and when we're sitting around talking about these groups, the group of people that would love to have this, the municipalities cannot get a group formed because they do not have stakeholders that are willing to serve. So we're fortunate to have it. We get a lot of credit for it. We actually, at the last time that we presented this to FEMA, we got the maximum credit. Now, we have not received we have submitted for the last 2 years. We have not got our credit rating for those last submitted, but right now we are currently a 5, which provides a total discount for our citizens that have flood insurance of $371,170 a year, which is a 25% discount per policyholder. It does benefit, obviously, the town. Hopefully, we'll at least stay at the 5. If not, we'll certainly work hard to maintain it if we have to work to get there again. But we ask that you approve the PPI document as written. It is budgeted. It is a budgeted item. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer those at this time.
Does anybody have any questions?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to accept resolution number 22-0154 to adopt the community rating system for public information.
Second.
Is there any other discussion before we have a vote on it? Mr. Stamey?
Yes.
Holder?
Yes.
Keating?
Yes.
Cracklaw?
Yes.
Kinkin?
Yes.
Drake?
Yes.
And myself is yes also.
Thank you very much.
So you're batting 2 for 2 tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Moving right along, the next thing is the automatic license plate reader, ALPR, system for police department. And I believe Chief Hoffman is going to give that
Let's
presentation.
keep those unanimous votes rolling, folks.
You done been up here one time tonight.
Mayor, council, and community and citizens, thank you for allowing me to make this request to you. You may recall I mentioned this at the budget retreat as an item that we would like to have on the radar, and I know that we kind of discussed holding off on this one until maybe January, or kind of looking at it in 23. I am asking you to consider it a little early. And I apologize for trying to move it forward, but I think it's urgent. We are asking you to consider expending $29,250 in this year's budget to allow us or authorize the administrator to engage in a contractual agreement with Flock Safety, which is an ALPR company that provides automatic license plate reader systems to communities. We have had them come in and survey the town. We're very fortunate that we have a town infrastructure and road infrastructure that will allow us to easily deploy this system with initial deployment and provide license plate reader capability to almost all of our ways to get in and out of the town in one deployment. Just to kind of go through this, I'm asking town council to direct the town administrator to enter into a contractual agreement with Flock Safety to provide a service to install a town-wide automatic license plate reader system that would provide coverage to all of the major means of travel in and out of Surfside Beach, and to provide training to police department personnel in the use of the system. We are seeing increases in property crime. We've also had a serious crime or two that's happened this year, and we were very fortunate that the town-wide wireless camera infrastructure system was there for us to help us to resolve some of these issues. But we won't always get lucky with the cameras because the cameras are just in the R3 district in certain areas. But what a license plate reader system would do would help us to leverage technology in a way that acts as a force multiplier to increase our investigative capabilities. So the police department seeks to leverage technology to develop leads, solve crimes, and protect our citizens from those entering our town to victimize the community. ALPR is a proven means of reducing both persons and property crime and solving crimes through lead development. Our unique roadway system with limited points of entry creates a unique opportunity to get this system out with relatively few camera locations in a cost-effective means. Area jurisdictions presently utilizing ALPR are Horry County, who uses Flock. Myrtle Beach uses a company called NDI. North Myrtle Beach uses a company called NDI. Conway uses Flock and NDI. Georgetown County deploys Flock. Pawleys Island is using Flock. Mount Pleasant and Charleston are also using Flock. Flock Safety provides ALPR as a service at a low cost with no hardware to buy or maintain. The annual agreement includes all maintenance software and data storage. Equipment is solar powered and is infrastructure free using LTE or cell phone technology to transmit data. One thing I like about the way Flock operates is Flock is big on community partnerships. So it's not just a police department initiative, but it's a community initiative where the police department can partner with communities. Say, for example, Harbor Lights community. There's only 2 roads to get in and out of their neighborhood. They could choose to also engage with Flock to have cameras there so that they know every car that's coming in and out of their neighborhood. Then they can partner with us to share data when we do investigations. And us getting on board with Flock at this time as it's expanding its footprint in Horry County, Georgetown, and other areas allows us also to choose through mutual aid agreements that those agencies can share their data with us, further multiplying our capability of going in and trying to find vehicles and identify people who come in to our community to do harm. Individual neighborhoods, like I said, can partner with Flock on that. The police department will be able to engage in data sharing with other agencies. Flock presently serves at least 1,200 law enforcement agencies. It's probably more than that now. I think I saw something earlier today that they're over 1,500 now. First year deployment of the ALPR system that will help us accomplish this goal would be $29,250 with a recurring cost of $22,500 per year. The initial contract is a 2-year contract with for a total of $51,750 between the 2 years, but just $29,250 for this year. Finance director has reviewed this request and states that the funds are available in the hospitality budget and that they are an appropriate use of hospitality tax funds. So we would ask that you consider funding this project out of hospitality funds, that those funds are there. You know, I've been asking a lot of questions. I was at the chiefs meeting last month, and where all the chiefs and sheriffs and prosecutors and everyone, we get together and talk about what's going on in our community. So, you know, I asked some questions. That's how I found out these our neighboring agencies are transferring to Flock from other companies and also engaging Flock for this service. So I just asked if anybody had any thoughts, if they could send me an email and let me know any successes that they've had. And just a couple that I brought. Georgetown County Sheriff's Office sent me, this is from Major Staub, he's a crime analyst there. Georgetown County Sheriff's Office has been using flock cameras for 2 years. We currently have 10 cameras operating on the beach side and are in the process of adding 14 more cameras throughout the county. The flock cameras have been very successful for us in locating missing persons, solving crimes, apprehending individuals who are wanted for warrants, and recovering stolen property. On average, we have 12 hits a week on the cameras, resulting in numerous arrests. Horry County PD, which just probably in the last year or so deployed flock cameras. Captain Harrelson with Horry County sent me this email. He said, Chief, since we went live in roughly May of this year, our flock cameras have assisted in at least 36 arrests and the recovery of approximately $366,910 in stolen property. They have also assisted in several missing persons cases, wanted person cases, and generating investigative leads. Let me know if I can help with any other information. He also sent me just some pass-alongs that they've had from their shifts that pass information along. I won't bore you with the details of all that, but it was their officers talking about, man, Flock did this, Flock did this. We were able to get this stolen vehicle. So I think that's important to know that our neighbors are engaged with this company and that they're having a lot of luck with this. You know, I'm not going to stand up here and scream fire in the theater here that we've got this huge out of control crime wave and Flock is going to fix all of that. But as from the earlier discussion and the questions, and I told you about the stats and the increases in numbers, our officers are busier than they've ever been before. The addition of an automatic license plate reader system to our toolbox, the things that we have to serve the community, particularly when they have been victimized, this tool would be so helpful for us to be able to identify leads and bring justice to people. So, you know, maybe Flock or having any ALPR would help us with a deterrent effect. What we're really trying to do is better solve crimes, better apprehend people who come into our community on a real-time basis and are here in stolen cars or wanted vehicles or related to other crimes that are on the national hot list. And this ALPR will notify us instantaneously that they're in our community. And our officers in the field would get those notifications and be able to immediately get to the area where that vehicle may be found. So while I know that we were going to try to wait till later in the budget year, and I'll totally understand that's the decision that you make. But I can't get it if I don't ask for it, right? And I do think it's important. If as a plan B, because if you don't have a plan B, plan A is probably not great. If you choose to, because I understand we have a lot of budget needs and other things that are very important in the pier, and you know, we've got a lot of things going on as a town. I understand that if you decide that this is something that you don't think is appropriate to be funded at this time out of hospitality, I would ask you to consider at least half of that $30,000 to deploy this, and let me fill the gap out of my seized drug funds. You know, it is an appropriate use of seized drug funds. It would drain the remaining funds that I have, but I think it's that important. So I guess I'm asking you to go halvesies with me on this thing. I think that so either or, if you would just consider allowing the administrator to enter into this contractual agreement with Flock. So I have asked our South Carolina sales representative with Flock, Taylor Ellison, who's here, to come. He's out of Charlotte. He was in Hilton Head this morning working with them. He drove up here and he's got to go back to Charlotte tonight. But he wanted to be here to answer any questions that you had about how ALPR can help, and he can. I'm sure he's forgotten more than I can say here tonight and know about. But I'd like, if it's okay, Mr. Mayor and Council, just I could give him just a few minutes to speak to you as well. and then allow you to ask him any questions. Would that be okay, sir?
Absolutely.
Okay. So,
Good evening.
Good evening. Well, I usually do a full-blown presentation, but he did a pretty good job of telling us what it was all about tonight. Thanks for having me. My name is Taylor Ellis, and I'm with Flock Safety, of course. And just want to go over a little bit of stuff that he touched on and a few other things. So first of all, we are an LPR company that goes about LPR a little bit differently. Some of your traditional LPR products, all they do is look for the metal reflectivity of a license plate, snaps a picture of that, and then cross-checks that against a Carfax, much like how in a toll lane it would work. You get that flash at night, you know your tag's been read. It cross-checks that against a Carfax, but the problem is we know what tag that vehicle or we know what vehicle that tag should be associated with. But if it's been swapped or stolen, we now have a false read for all intents and purposes, and we don't know what car was there at that time. Our system is motion activated. So whether it has a metal tag, a temporary or paper tag, we see a lot of thieves now that are coming in and writing false temp tags and things like that. Or if the vehicle has no tag at all, we're going to get a snapshot of that vehicle. And through machine learning, our system is able to make all the images searchable by make, body style, color, as well as some key identifying features like roof racks, bumper stickers, window stickers, etc. to make this one car stand out as why is this an investigative lead. Like he touched on, we are fully infrastructure free. We operate off of solar power. We have LTE connectivity that's free to you. There's no cellular or data bill passed along to you guys. And there is no server to house somewhere in a room. Have IT people maintain it. Cross your fingers, hopes it never breaks down, and then you're dead in the water. Everything is AWS government secured cloud storage with the highest level of encryption that you can get. And all of that data that's captured has every image has a rolling 30-day life cycle. The reason that this is important is because we're not here trying to collect infinite amounts of data on the tourists that come to your town. We're also not here to collect that data on the innocent people that reside here. What we're doing is we're collecting a database of images of plates and vehicles that can be used to create an investigative lead so that when you do have issues in the town, the chief and his folks can get together, they can narrow it down based off of a vehicle description or anything like that, and they can go from there instead of starting with a cold case, so to speak. So again, we don't have some infinite data retention. At 30 days, it's gone. It cannot be recovered for any reason. We also have no way of backdooring into your data. It is your data. It is the police department's data. We do not sell it, share it, or disclose it for any reason whatsoever. That's for the privacy reasons, of course. Lastly, there's no facial recognition or anything associated with our software. It is solely designed to capture plates and vehicles. So that's pretty much in a nutshell what we do. He kind of listed everybody that we're working with along the South Carolina coast. And we have many others in South Carolina. The beautiful thing about it, like he said, they can share free access with other agencies. And there have been crimes committed in a certain area that have been solved using access with another agency's cameras, and that happens quite often. So it's very beneficial to share access with one another, and it essentially allows your community to have a bigger presence and network in the LPR and not necessarily have to invest, but only in a certain amount that you need for your community.
So do you interface with like NCIC and everything so that it does an automatic check?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then how do you notify the police department? Do you have your own terminal or is it through the NCIC or
That's a fantastic question. So we pull from NCIC and GCIC. They can also create their own custom hot lists. I use this as an example. If you have a string of catalytic converter thefts, you can create a hot list just for that. Put vehicle information in. This person is of interest. We need to know the next time they're in the area. You can set it up so that it goes out department wide, or if you just want to have a few people notified of it, you can set it up that way as well.
And then when you set it up in the town, are you familiar with the town? We're a little 2 square miles.
I've been here before.
We're half a mile this way and
Sure.
2 miles this way. So, how many cameras in this contract would we have? Would we have one on each end or one on each,
I believe we looked at 9, if I'm not mistaken. 9.
So in this contract, it includes 9 cameras?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, We would cover,
I know.
we would cover Highway 17 at north and south ends. We would cover Waccamaw at Boulevard, at Ocean Boulevard where it meets Melody, and also catch Glens Bay Road at Sandy Lane. So that would be, the 9 cameras would be deployed in those.
Now, you and I talked about this about a month ago, and you were telling me about the camera that's down near the Harley dealer at the Food Lion
Yes, sir.
shopping center.
Yes,
Is that a flock camera?
That is not. That is a Myrtle Beach camera, and they presently use a company called NDI. When I started investigating ALPR in the beginning, we got a quote from that same company, and that system was deployable at about $250,000.
Okay.
Cost effective.
I just have one last question.
Yes, sir.
You were saying that worst case scenario, you could take it out of your drug fund and take it out of here and incorporate it, but it would be draining your drug fund.
Yes, sir.
What else do you use your drug fund for?
There are.
It sounds really bad.
Yeah,
I know.
Just for the record, those funds are funds that through assets that were seized from drug dealers that
Right,
came through the
right.
town and were awarded to the town to be used for very specific purposes under federal guidelines and state guidelines. It could be used for training. So then it'd be a complicated answer, but we have several different drug funds. Some can be used for certain things, and some can only be used for drug enforcement efforts. Say we wanted to add another canine.
Is this drug enforcement?
No, this is under one of the funds that can be used for essentially anything that furthers the department's mission or helps to fight crime, that type of thing. So this is out of the fund that is a little more liberal, that doesn't have to be drug enforcement related. So does that answer your question, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, that does. Does anybody else have any questions?
I got one.
I'd just like to add one more thing.
Oh, I'm
'cause
sorry.
I
Go
didn't
ahead.
answer one of your questions, so
Go
I'm going
ahead.
to answer that. How we notify when something happens. If they have known vehicle information in, essentially not to be on the lookout, but they put it in, letting the cameras know, hey, the next time this vehicle comes by any of the cameras in our area, let us know. That tag, that vehicle go by, it's going to alert them within several seconds to let them know not only the car, it'll show you the image that the camera took, it'll show you a zoomed in visual of the license plate, it'll also show you a map of your area showing you which camera triggered that alert. If you guys have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
I'm impressed.
Mr. Mayor.
I got one.
Go ahead.
I'd like to know on the
on.
maintenance part of this,
Yes.
do y'all maintain it? Or are they cost to us to maintain it after that initial setup fee? What is that process?
This is a full turnkey solution. We're going to obviously we've collaborated with the PD to figure out where the best locations would be to implement them. When it comes to install time, we're going to take care of all the permitting processes that need to be taken care of. We're going to take care of the install. We take care of the maintenance as well. Our big thing is that we don't want to nickel and dime you with a maintenance contract when you could use that money to keep your community safer. We want to take care of that, and we just want this to be a tool in their tool belt to allow them to work smarter and not harder.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
The process of the cameras, when you take a picture of a car, every car going by, you taking pictures of all of them, or just everyone? All right.
Imagine this, having somebody stand on a street corner writing down a vehicle description and a license plate. You couldn't humanly do that,
No,
but with
no.
our cameras, you can.
Okay,
Yeah.
when you do that, how do you know that, I mean, if another department said a certain car is stolen, I understand how that could come back to you, and you say, we got a stolen car coming through. If you have like the break-ins we're having, and some could be local people, some could not be local people, are you somehow got to notify them to get that information from them, to let them know you're looking for,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you're looking for a Buick,
Sure.
a dark colored Buick license plate.
Yeah. So what you can do, so when you log into the portal, it's going to show you how many images. So you put in a date, time frame, and a time window.
Right.
So we know that this incident occurred between 6 a.m. and 10 a.m. in the morning.
Right.
What you can do is it'll show you that whole list of pictures from all the cameras in either your network or as well as the other networks that they request to share access with.
Okay.
What you do from there is you put in your vehicle description based on an eyewitness account. You can also put in a plate along with that. It'll also accept a partial. So if we know GH is all we got on the plate, and we have a red Honda SUV that we're looking for, and it has GH, you put all that information in, it'll show you all the images of vehicles with GH in the license plate that were red Honda SUVs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
I have two questions.
Sure.
One's real easy. Let's say lightning hits one.
Yeah.
Since it's all inclusive, basically you cover we're not going to get hit with
Yes.
replacing a camera. My next question is, what is the
let me
difference?
let me
between-
clarify that real quick.
Okay.
So anything inside of normal wear and tear, any kind of maintenance, anything like that, we're going to take care of. If it's outside of normal wear and tear, there's a car accident, a car hits it, vandalism, lightning strike. The first replacement is complimentary. Each replacement thereafter would be $500.
Okay.
Yes.
My next question is what's the difference between Flock and NDI since there's such a price
Yeah.
variance?
They're a little bit more of a traditional LPR product. So like I was mentioning earlier, they don't have the searchability function that we do. And then also one of the biggest things is that they don't have the presence around you guys the way that we do. And the way that we have the ability to allow them to share free access with other agencies to basically build a larger network at no additional cost to your town is very beneficial.
So basically, though, you and NDI do not share information.
We do not. No, there's several other LPR companies out there,
Makes
and we share with other Flock users. Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, Chief, is there any opportunity to piggyback on Horry County's system? Or do we have to have our own?
Well, in order for us to, I mean, they wouldn't probably share access to their system just for free. But for us to have the search capabilities, get the alerts in real time, do you have a input on that? Am I saying
Yeah,
that
so
correctly?
what they could do is you guys could sign an MOU with us, and that's totally free, no strings attached. And then you could go around to other agencies and start requesting access. The problem is that if you have something here close to home, you have no cameras to build that off of. And who's to say, once they get off the bridge, whether they went left, right, or straight, so to speak.
Well, but I mean, I'm thinking that maybe it's cheaper to expand Horry County's system, add the 9 cameras to Horry County's system. No? Yes, maybe?
It would be this, the cameras are what the cameras cost, but then I guess we could. I mean, we could give Horry County $30,000.
Well, I'm just kind of torn here because, we've got some big ticket items coming up on the pier.
Mm-hmm.
We know we've got a big check to write in December 28th to pay off the pier. And, we have a plan in place and that relies heavily on hospitality and accommodation tax revenues.
Yes, ma'am.
But then on the other side, that's why I'm torn. On the other side, $30,000 isn't going to kill the pier,
Right.
One way or another, I would hope. But then, I see you have a 2-year contract, so it's another $22,000 next year.
Yes, ma'am.
Are there longer term contracts that would be less? Or would we just renew every 2 years at $22,500?
You would have it would be a 2-year contract with an optional 2-year renewal. So in 2 years, you can decide whether this is something you'd like to keep in the ground or not. And once the contract's up, you decide to say, hey, you know what, it's done its purpose, and maybe we don't need this anymore. We come pull them out of the ground, no cost.
Is there any fixed escalation on that second 2-year term? No, same price?
It's going to be that same price. Our
Okay.
whole goal is to offer the best LPR solution at the most affordable price we can, and we have no plans that I know of that any of that's going to increase in the near or the long term.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Kenny, the other question, we talked before when we were talking about cameras, and you were talking about businesses that got cameras and that business could get the camera and that they could, share their thing. Is that a Flock camera that you were talking about?
That was the wireless camera infrastructure that we presently are using. So,
But that's not a license plate reader.
those are not license
Okay.
plate readers. Those are just traditional cameras.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Recording real time.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, go ahead.
Kenny, you mentioned from the get the start that you were going to bring this up in January.
Yes, sir.
You kind of jumped the gun. Is there a reason for that?
Yes, there is, because I and I'm sure the citizens, and you are too, I'm a little alarmed, particularly at the incident that occurred with the sexual assault on Ocean Boulevard this summer. I'm alarmed with that rash of break-ins that we had last month that resulted in guns being dropped in our community that could have been picked up. I'm concerned with the increase in traffic that we see, just general traffic numbers coming through here. And it just, I feel like I need to react to put every resource and stopgap in place that I can to address any criminal activity that's coming up. And in line with what we were talking about with staffing is officers are busier and busier and busier and busier. They have less time for what I believe, and I've been policing here off and on since '96. Is the key to why we are one of the safest communities on the Grand Strand, and that is the concept of patrol.
Mm-hmm.
We simply have time to patrol this town to try to deter and detect crime, to prevent victimization. But as we are getting busier, the officers have less time to patrol. So I feel like this is a tool that, while it is expensive, and I don't want to act like $30,000 of taxpayer money is not a lot of money, because it is. But this is a tool that is a very cost-effective means of being an immediate force multiplier for us to be able to conduct investigative measures when we miss something, that we can try to go back and investigate and find that lead. That's why.
I won't disagree with anything you said, but from our standpoint, there's going to be a list of things that we're going to approach in January for us to fund. And I frankly, I would like to put this off so that we see the full list at one time and then pick and choose. I mean, I think it's a great idea. I really do. And I usually support you 100%. But I do know that we're going to be hit with additional requests that we have to look at. And I just feel like we're getting ahead of ourselves by doing it now instead of waiting until January.
Yes, sir. I
brought that up.
I totally understand. Yes, sir. And that's why I wanted to communicate to you that this is important enough that I feel like that if I can decrease your financial concern piece by using seized drug funds to lessen the impact on the hospitality fund, then it's just that important to me. But I'll definitely understand if as a council you decide to hold off.
Mr. Mayor, Kenny, is one thing that I look at as technology, and I'm telling you, these cameras have saved us numerous times already.
Right.
And I look at it, anything that you can put out there with that would give you the information that somebody's coming into our town or coming around here, and that car's being driven by somebody stole it, or somebody's using drugs or dealing drugs, or Lord knows what. And that information needs to go directly to y'all. So that's a plus.
If I can share, what I saw with my own eyes with this, I was at an agency in Colorado a few months ago helping with a process they had going on, and the chief there knew that this was something I was looking at, and he was familiar with the system that they deployed in Castle Rock, Colorado. So he pulled up the dashboard with Flock, and he said, "Kenny, let me just show you what this thing can do." And he just did a search in a certain time frame, asking the system to show him blue pickup trucks with bumper stickers in the back window. And it pulled up every blue pickup truck that had gone through that jurisdiction in that period of time, but only showed the ones with bumper stickers or a sticker in the back window. That's just how detailed this technology is,
Right.
that it can just
It might be that
narrow it
one
down.
bumper sticker you need for a
Right.
witness to say,
And then-
yeah, that's a truck.
And then show the tags of any vehicles that match that. And as Taylor was saying, say we have a crime that occurs and the victim says, I don't know, I just saw 1, 2, 3, to give us the ability to search all the tags that came through our town in that time frame that had 1, 2, 3, to give us those leads, so we can then start researching each one of those leads and start finding out if that's our person. So I totally understand the concern. I get it, and I'll understand if we need to wait till January, but I just wanted to bring it to you because I think it's important. I think we need it. So,
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to go ahead and make a motion for us to go in partnership with the Plan B, where Kenny funds half of it, and then the town can fund the other half. I'd like to make a motion to that.
Do I have a second on that?
I'll second that.
Okay, do
Mr.
we,
Mayor, would it be okay if I excuse Taylor if you don't have any more questions for him? He's got to drive all the way back to Charlotte. I'd just like to, okay, we'll wait. I'm here.
it's only going to take a second, trust me.
It's only
Kenny,
3.5
he's a
hours.
youngster. He can drive.
Okay.
Unless you speed. then
He'll
you
put you
can
up at his
go.
place.
I don't do that.
Kenny will put you in his house.
Is there any further conversation before we vote? Mr. Stamey?
I vote yes on the Plan B with us helping fund Kenny's venture into this.
Okay. And Mr. Holder?
Yes.
Keating?
Yes.
Cracklaw?
Yes.
Kinkin?
No.
Drake?
Yes.
And I'm yes, so welcome to the club.
Thank you, Council, for considering.
Don't forget our parks.
And we're going to expect great things from it.
Yes.
We look forward to working with you. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Drive safe.
Thank you.
All right, with that, the next thing on the agenda is the public comments. And these are public comments about any town services. Good
Hello,
evening.
Mr. Mayor. My God, it's 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, council members, Mr. Shanahan. My name is Anusha Shefter. I live in 813 North Ocean Boulevard, right next to 9th Avenue North. I want to talk about Hurricane Ian. We knew it's coming. We saw the devastation in the state of Florida, and we knew what to expect. However, in my opinion, we were not fully ready for it here, even though we had time to be ready. In previously, during hurricanes or storms, public works crew would go to the beach side, at minimum remove all the cans, or sometimes remove the entire the caging and the casing of those cans. This didn't happen this year. During the hurricane, I witnessed that on two sides of 9th Avenue North public access, there are 4 cans, 2 on each side. All these 4 cans and the 2 cages, like a bulldozer, came toward my property. It really plowed all the way in. It destroyed the dune that we privately made in front of the house, all the shrubs, all the bushes, created 2 floodgates to our backyard, destroyed all the flower beds, everything, probably deposited maybe 3 or 4 feet of sand. I spent about $3,000 to hire a contractor with a front loader and a truck to remove the sands, put them back on the dunes and the beach. I'm not here asking for reimbursement. The following day, I stopped a couple of people working for the public works, asked them what happened. The response was, by the time the administration decided to secure garbage cans, it was too risky and late for us to go out. This failure to act properly is causing property owners like me with the hassle and the financial damages that we have to deal with. Probably, as I was hearing from fire chief, there's always protocol for everything. If there's an accident, they send an ambulance and a fire truck, they know what to send. For hurricanes and events like that, we should have a protocol, regardless of whether it's a category 1 or 2, it's just a storm, do these things regardless of that. And this didn't happen. As I said in the past, they always remove the cans at minimum and remove the cages. Thank you for your time.
Thank
you. Are there any more public comments? Yes, sir.
Dusty McCracken, 114 South Oak. I was just going to tell you a story. I appreciate y'all caring about the safety and stuff of the town with the flock. So I'm store manager at Food Line, And I know we deal with that system a lot with like the Myrtle Beach Myrtle Beach Police Department, stuff like that. So we have a group of shoplifters that like to go from one store to the next store to the next store and do push outs. So just to tell you a little bit about that, we actually work with the police department, and they identify folks from there. They know they're at one food line. We'll call it in, and then those shoplifters will travel to another food line down the road, and the cops will be in the parking lot and tackle them right at the car. So it's a very good program, but I do ask council going forward to be very cautious with the H-Tax. We have, I know y'all all know, and you continue to talk about it, we've spent a lot of money here lately. A lot of future H-Tax is going to be pushed to the pier, which is already dedicated for that. When we talk about H-Tax, we continue to push a lot of money to one area, but when these folks and your directors and police department come up to you and ask you for these extra services, that's what we should be utilizing the H-Tax for. We shouldn't be pushing 75, 80% of it to a pier. Okay, so a $20 million pier that should be able to fund for itself. So I think the H-Tax should be, I think we should really step back from spending all that money and really sit down and identify ways we can use the H-Tax in a better way. I know we got a lot of projects coming up, and I agree that we should shift some of it to the pier. But really, if we think about it, there's a lot of opportunities with the H-Tax as far as amenities and extra services and tourism, marketing, all that stuff through. We talk about utilities under. I know we can't spend H-Tax on everything, but when we're talking about transportation or routes, walking, bicycle lanes, all that stuff, H-Tax can be utilized for those items. And I know the town has asked y'all for many of those things, sidewalks, all that stuff. I don't know if it actually can fund sidewalks, but that's a means of transportation, I would think, and I believe it may be shifted that way. But we talk about a lot of things the town wants, but we seem to utilize the H-Tax in a very uncreative way. So please, as y'all go forward making votes, and my option would have been asking Chief Hoffman if we could have did less cameras than $22,000 a year. So I understand that program would be good, but we are only 2 square miles. So thinking that in a way we can still get what we want, but utilizing the H-Tax a little less. All right, thank you.
Are there any other public comments? All right, now we'll do town discussion. Mr. Stanley.
Town discussions. Thanks everybody for coming out, people listening, and the ones that's still around here at 9 o'clock at night. Over the weekend, as most of you know, I've always promoted or are for businesses in town. I went to a town or a function here in town that recognized a business that had been here for 60 years. They celebrated 60 years. As a town, we didn't even recognize this business for being here in town, which I think is pretty bad. And I don't know whose shoulders that falls on, but I do say, if you've been in business in this town and supported this town for 60 years, it's pretty bad that we didn't recognize this business as a town. And on top of that, we have a citizens workshop coming up October 26th that I'd like for everybody listening and everybody here to attend. Please attend. Voice your opinions. Let the town know what you want and what you dislike. And saying that, good night.
Mr. Holder.
Yes, I'd like to thank everybody who came and those online. And I too would like to congratulate Surfside Realty for 60 years of service to the town. And I agree we should add some there. But also, I'd like to thank the fire department for what they did this weekend at that Saturday. The fire demonstrations there of showing, you got my wife wanting to put sprinklers in the house after seeing it. and so it was very effective. And so it was a very effective, good for our public safety to be in. So thank you. And also, everybody should remember November 5th. That's when we're going to have our festival. So thank you.
Ms. Keating.
Yeah, I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight and those that are tuning in. You know, as usual, I always appreciate our chief of police and our fire chief, you know, and coming out and giving us the updates and asking for new toys and spending our money. But, you know, if it keeps us all safer, then it's worth the effort. It's worth the expense. And while, as Chief Hoffman said, you know, $30,000 is a lot of money, but in the scheme of things, if it was your house that was lost or your car that was stolen or your loved one that was victimized of some sort, and our spending this $30,000 allowed that to be solved, I think you'd have a different perspective on the value that it provided. So hopefully what we're being told and sold as the value of this system will be proven positive. And, you know, we've got 2 years to figure out if it's been a benefit to us or not. But I also want to thank the peer committee, as well as those on the business committee that are really stepping up and embracing their mission. They're going well above and beyond what they should be doing as volunteers for this town, and it just shows their dedication for the town to succeed. And I'm sure they don't get enough appreciation, but they sure get their fair share of frustration. So I just want to make sure that they know at least I appreciate what they're doing. I want to work hard to get the peer committee and the business committee together and start marching down their list of goals and objectives to accomplish for the town. So with that, I want to thank everybody again for coming out, for staying with us. Not quite as spirited conversations as we had last week, but important ones all the same. We'll see you in a couple weeks. Thank you.
Mr. Cracklaw.
Thanks all for coming out, and I appreciate everybody that takes an interest in their town and comes out and lets us know how we're doing. I also would like to thank the committees, the peer committee, all committees actually. It's a thankless job for the most part, and it's not paid, and it takes time. I would like to add to the gentleman that talked about the trash cans. I was on 14th Avenue South, Oceanside, watching the tide roll in, wondering why the trash cans didn't get picked up. My guess is they missed the checklist or something. I don't know, because hurricanes are slow enough that I think that they could have been drove down, picked them up, but I have not talked to John about it. I'm sure he has a reason why they didn't get picked up. With that being said, I had a citizen stop me and ask me to publicly thank Public Works for taking care of the debris and everything quickly. And that goes for the fire and police also. They did a good job. With that, meetings went on long enough. Good night. See you next time.
Mr. Kinkin.
I appreciate everybody that's here and that's tuned in. I don't know that I want to say as an excuse, but we left Thursday morning with the news telling me it's going to be a 40, 50 mile an hour wind. That was Thursday morning, late morning. It did turn out to be a 40 or 50 mile an hour wind, and we were a little unprepared because they didn't pick up the trash cans. But my goodness, this Public Works cleaned this town up so quickly and did such a thorough job. They even raked the little leaves up, put them in the dumpster, and put them in the truck. I couldn't believe all the work that they did and how fast they did. So I also always want to talk about our safety group. I said, I'm not against the cameras. I'm just against the timing. I think it's a good idea. I'm glad we got them. I did vote against them because of the timing, but that's the only reason. The fire department had an excellent program Saturday. I enjoyed it. The kids were there having a great time. It was it was fun to see all the activity. And I also want to thank Surfside Realty for 60 years. That's an amazing accomplishment. They've been here working ever since I've been coming to Surfside, and done a great job for this town. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you in 2 weeks, and have a great couple of weeks. Thank you.
Mr. Drake.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming out and tuning in, and thanks to Kenny Hoffman and what you brought tonight with the cameras. I think they'll be very much a necessity. Back to our parks, I'm very much to see more cameras in our park areas to protect our children, and to the fire department, they'll do a great job. Keep it up. And again, the public works, they do one heck of a job. I mean, they really did clean this town up. I mean, I was out there after the storm settled a little bit. The water was knee high coming around certain areas. It stayed away from my house. And the guy was here tonight. He's right. We are in a flood zone. It's going to happen one day, somehow, some way. It'll be there. So we got to be prepared for it. And but again, thank you. And we look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks.
Okay, it started about a week ago on Tuesday, where our emergency operations manager was trying to be ahead of the storm. So like every 4 hours we were getting emails telling us where it was and what it was doing and stuff. And it didn't look like it was that bad, and it didn't look like stuff was going. Then we saw what happened in Florida. Okay, and we really ended up stepping it up. And a lot of preparations were made. If you saw my update, we took down all those hanging baskets that were all up and down Surfside Drive, all up and down Ocean Boulevard. We lowered the lakes by 4 feet to make sure that there was enough water in it. There was a lot of preparation that went in before that. And as the storm came, and I was talking to Chief Clements on, I guess it was Friday morning, and that was right after everything was going on, but before the worst happened. I went out with Larry, and he took me around, and we went around town, and we checked everything out and saw what everybody was doing. There was a little bit of flooding and stuff was going on, but it looked like they were going, and it seemed like every single town employee was out on the street. The police department was there in force. The fire department, we were down on Melody Lane in the afternoon. There were light wires that came down that the fire department was there, watching it while the Grand Strand put the wires back up. We helped other jurisdictions in Garden City. We did a whole lot during that time. And I think that we basically kept the flooding to a minimum. But that was the highest sea surge we've had here. I mean, that was higher than Matthews. That was higher than Hugo on the actual amount of water that came out of the ocean. And we are at the point now where 80% of our dunes are gone. So we've got a lot to do, and we got to figure out what we're going to do and how we're going to do it to get our dunes built back up. I was told in trying to make some phone calls and find out about it that basically the Army Corps of Engineers will do an evaluation, find out where the dunes are and everything, and then they work out a plan, and the people that need it the most will get it done there and this and that. I also heard that there's only 10 companies that do this beach renourishment to bring the barges in to pull the sand up, and they're booked for the next 2 years. So, and they're going to be used in emergency situations. You can automatically tell that Pawleys Island needs it a lot better, a lot more than we do. So, and the Army Corps of Engineers is over there right now working on it. But we fared off really well, and everybody else's pier is damaged. Other than Garden City, we're the only, they're the only pier that's left other than ours. So, we've got a lot to be thankful for. And there was a lot, and I really appreciate the residents coming together after the storm. Everybody went out and cleaned up their stuff. Everybody went and raked everything, put it up on the curb. Public Works fixed it up. It looks better today than it did before the storm, because all those trees and everything, all the extra leaves and dead branches, and they all came down, and we cleaned them all up. So I want to thank you, and I also want to remind you guys that we have the Fall Festival on November 5th, which got canceled because of the storm. But, we plan on having it, and I hear that all the vendors are still coming and everything, so hopefully that's a good thing. So y'all be safe, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Thank you. And with that, I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
This meeting is adjourned. That's a long meeting.